Hello, my name is Jumanelli, and today we are going to be going through lesson 1 of MS Access. So before I begin off, make sure you subscribe to the channel to bring you some good luck in your forthcoming exams. So we are going to be looking at this question right here. The question is saying it's having a student table and it's having a course table. And in the student table we are having student ID, name, date of birth, gender, campus, course ID. And when you go to the second table, it's having course ID, course name, tuition fees, and then tutor. Then they're saying the above data was collected in one semester on students studying at UCC centers. They're saying using MS Access 2007, it can be any 2007, it can be 13. Create a database in your name and save it on a desktop, and you'll be getting 2 marks. Then they're saying create the above 2 tables in your database, assessing correct data types. Then identify appropriate primary keys for each table. Then create forms to help input data in each table. Name the forms student input form and course input form respectively. You get 4 marks. Then pollute the tables with the above data, still get 4 marks. Then lastly, create a relationship between the tables and enforce inferential integrity. So basically, summary of what you're going to look at, you're going to look at how to create data types and creating forms and also the relationships. So this is the table I'm going to be using to input my data. So let me close it. So from what we have read, they've said part A, using MS Access, and I'm to go back. Using MS Access, create a database in your name and save it on your desktop, 2 marks. So what you do, a simpler way you can do this, and just come on your desktop. Now you can create a folder. If at all I have not told you a folder, and I've just told you create a database in your name on the desktop and save it, you'll just right click, then you go to new, and then this is where you find Microsoft Access database. Or what some people do, they go here and say MS and then Access. So Microsoft Access, they search from here, and then they use this route. When they click, it takes them this side and they say blank database, and this is where they create theirs. Let's try and see. First, so that's another way they can create it, but a simpler way, just right click, then you go to new, and then database, it creates itself here. Then you name it, then you can give it your name. Let me hope I didn't save this name. Desktop, yeah, perfect. Then they've said save it in your name, so it's what I've done. Then I'll add my 2 marks, so that one has been done. Then you go to part B, create the above 2 tables in your desktop, assigning correct data types. So what they want us to do, they want me to create these 2 tables in the database, assigning them correct data types. So they want me to create tables for these 2. But what you should always know, we are having what we call the primary table, and we are also having a child table. So once you're exposed to this, you must always at least start with the parent table. The parent table is the one which will be having the primary key. Anything that is in the child table will be like a foreign key. So with the primary key is a unique identifier of a record, and with the foreign key is when one primary key is used in another table. So when we look at these two tables, you may ask yourself which one is the parent, which one is the child. Now the parent cannot exist, the child cannot exist without the parent. So meaning, if I told you're having a student table and course table, obviously the course table is going to rule out, because ideally it will be the courses first, because without the courses you won't be having students for those courses. So it's going to be courses first. So this course table is this is the unique identifier. You can see that someone with this table, someone can be having networking, someone can be having the same tuition, somebody can be having the same tutor. For example, here you can see Susan appearing twice. So all these can repeat each other, the course name, the tuition fees, the tutor, but what cannot repeat each other, it is the course ID. That's why they call it a unique identifier of a record. So you can take an example of your registration number at school. You won't be having the same registration number with your friend, despite you may be having the same name, same course, you pay the same tuition, you are taught by the same lecturer, but the registration number will always differ. So this is the unique identifier. So when you go to student table, the unique identifier still does a course ID, which is this, and this is what we call the foreign key. So with this foreign key, it's what is going to make you even create a relationship, because you want to see what is similar in these two tables. It will be the IDs. You will see that the primary table, which is the independent table, is having an ID similar to the child table, which is the dependent table. So this makes this makes it the dependent table, the independent table, the course table, and this one makes it the dependent table. So having looked at that, so we are going to create the two tables now. Let me take you to where I'm going to create the tables. Now I can click on this. So when I'm creating the tables, all I have to do, so you pay keen attention, you're going to go to create. After create, you go to table design, you click on it, it displays search. So after displaying search, they have told us now. I'm not going to be going back on the question. Okay, let me try to swap. Let's see. I told you I'm going to start with the primary table. So the primary table is there. It is the what? The course table. Let's go back to our database. It's having the course ID as we have seen. So I'm going to come and say course. The way I write this course ID, when I'm creating a relationship, I should make when I'm creating a relationship. For example, if at all I'm going to create the student table, and this course ID, it's not the same spelling. For example, if here I've used the capital letters, small letters, and these ones I've used capital letters. If I go to student table and I write all these in capital letters, the relationship won't work. So make sure the primary key and the foreign keys are in the best of their spellings to avoid future errors and stress during the exam, because you'll be like, why am I things refusing it in the paper? So this is something to note. The way you have written it, you should be able to recall how you have written it. So I've written capital letters, small letters, then the ID is in capital letters. Then which data type am I going to give it? Let us see here. It is having CS11. So data type which can take up all that, it is now me, I'm using some old access, database access. Now if at all you are using some updated access, the one of latest, you'll be having short text stroke long text. So you can click on short text. You can click on short text, because with text it's it will be having it's the data type which takes in like a text and also a number at the same time. So I'm going to go to text. Once that is done, I'm going to go to course name as you're seeing there. Course name, that is done. Still I'm going to give it a data type called text. Then we have tuition. Tuition fees. Then we are having tutor. And now with the tuition fees, it's having a number. Let's see here. Tuition fees that has been displayed in such a way. Now with tuition fees, it's just that most of the times they can give you a currency and they say UGX. So let's give it a UGX. It can be in dollars, it can be in what. So you know, money is always treated as currency. So for this one, you're going to go to currency. Once you have done that, you can come to format here. There are different options. You can see here you're having Uganda shillings, you're having euro, depending on what the question has told you. Now for this question, it has not told me to do any of this, but if I told it had told me to put any, maybe UGX, I would say UGX, enter, and that will be it. Decimal places, I can work for I can adjust decimal places from here. So you don't want I want 0 decimal places. Once that is done, the tutor that is text, we saw they are in names. They are in names as you're seeing here. So once that is done, now if I told you close this table without a primary key, without giving one of these fields a primary key, it will refuse. So you have to select one which is going to be the primary key by clicking on by going to it, and then you click in this gray box, then you go to primary key. Then after that, after giving it a primary key, you go to save right here. If you're saving for the first, you go to save, you click on it there. Or a shortcut you could use Ctrl S, a shortcut. So it will give you that it will bring you save as. So once it brings you save as, because you're saving it for the first time. But if I told you you're not saving it for the first time, you should just go there and already save. So I'm going to call this table, I'm going to call it now from what we had looked at here, I'm going to call it course table. So let's call it course table. Then we say okay. So once we have done that, let me save again. You just click here and then you go this side, then you close, and then you have your course table here. So then from there we shall earn, I think not yet, we haven't yet earned our 3 marks. You have said create the 2 tables in the database, assigning correct data types. So you have assigned the correct data types. So you're going to go to now Now we have finished the independent. Now we are going to the dependent table. Then we're going to go to it and say create, and then you go to table design, and then that's it. Then you're going to say school ID, sorry, student ID, student ID. That's done. Remember, it's having moves 1 2 3. So because it's having this word moves, I'll give it text. I'm going to give it short text. Remember, mine, I'm using old version, so it brings me text. If I told it was not having moves and saying 1 2 3, I'll use auto number. You get? If I told, what if it was having a 0 here? If I told it was having a 0 here, remember this MS Access does not if I told you use text, sorry, if I told you use number, because if I told they are plain numbers, if I to use auto number, if I to use number, the user won't display. So the correct one to use, which will allow numbers, it will be you'll use text. So similarly, if I told you're having a telephone, if I told you had a telephone somewhere and you're having a 0 in front, for that 0 to be recorded, you will use data type text, the data type called text. So we go and put there, we put that text to cater for that. Told you it can take in numbers and also pure text. Then name, we go to name, pure text. Then we go to okay. Now it has brought that because this is the special fields. You can decide to name it name, or okay, let me give it student name to make it more unique. Student name. Perfect. Okay, so it's bringing that. Let me just call it pure name. Still, it's going to bring the same, but let me just follow what the question wants. Name. So once that is done, you're going to go to date of birth. I can call it D or B. Now with D or B, I'm going to say date or time. So I give it date or time. So when I give it date or time, I can come to format here, depending on what the question has asked me. Now when I go on the question, how does my thing look like? My date of birth looks like this. So when I come to format, most of the times we have been using short date. You can go to it and say short date, because this is how my date or time looks like. So you click on it, so it brings short date. You have seen how short date looks like this, and this is how my question is being presented here. So once that is done, go back. Then I'm going to go to gender. So when I go to gender, I'm going to go to lookup wizard. Now lookup wizard is going to ease my data entry. So I will type in the values I want. Then I go to next. It will bring this. So which values do I want? I'm seeing the question that's saying male or female. So I'm going to say male, and this one I'm going to say female. Then I say finish. So that's when I'm typing in my things, it will either bring male or female. Then I go to campus. Then this is pure text. Then once that is done, I go to course ID. Remember what I told you, these are going to, they must be similar even in spelling. They're not only similar on the table, it must be similar in spelling. So this is how I wrote it in the other table, and I wrote the other one in capital letters. So they have the same spelling, and I gave it data type text. The spelling must be the same, and even the data type, to avoid future errors. So that is with that. Oh yeah, I'd say date or time, and we had looked at the format we had looked at short date, then which we are looking at like our. But after doing that, before I do anything, I have to identify the primary key by clicking there. I can either right click, it comes, and I click primary key, or I can give it the primary key from there. So once that is done, let me take you through the data types a bit before I close it here. So text records both the number and also pure text. Then we are having number. Number is just a number like 1, 2, 3, like that, or 4. It can be not in the same order, or 1,000 what, something like that. Date or time, it records dates. Then we are having currency, which records money, any form of money. Then we're having auto number. Auto number, it is something that does not skip, so it records it in the order. And by the way, number deals with calculations, integers. Then we are having OLE object. Now with this yes or no, you can just create a field which just requires yes or no, and then you have to do that. So OLE object, this one for it is said, if I told you data type is having images, it is used to create an image section for your data, for your field name, and then you put that there so that a photo can be added, for example passport photo. Then we are having hyperlink. This one creates links. You can decide to create a field which is having a hyperlink, and then you put there like things like your email. Then we're having attachment. This deals with like CV attachment. Then lookup wizard, I already told it is the data entry, so that when you go to that field, it either brings you like what I did, male or female. So once that is done, I've taken you through, you save the table because we haven't yet saved it. I created the primary key here, then I go to save. Then I'm going to call this, I go in the question, what did they call it? Student table. So I'm going to say student table. Student table. And then I say okay. So once I've done that, I just close. Let me first save, and then I close. So it's done, and from there I'll earn my 3 marks as per question. I'll earn my 3 marks, which is this, and as I've also identified appropriate primary keys for each table, as you have seen: course name, course ID in the course table, and course ID in the primary, in the dependent table, or the child table. Child table is student, and the parent table is course table. What else are they asking? Create forms to help you input data in each table. Name the fields, input form, and course code, and course input form. So, and then okay, we are going to create forms now. Let's go to create forms. So you go to create. So after saying create, you go to form wizard. So we are going to start off with our parent table. Our parent table is the course table. So you can either take one at a time, or all of them at once. So take you back. This takes everything the other side, so I need all of them. Then I go to next. This is just a layout of how you want it. The columnar is okay. Then I go to next. If at all I want to make changes to my data, I can do it to modify the forms design, but I want it at that. Then I say sorry, they said name the forms student input form and course. Now we are on the course, so we're going to call it course input form. That's how they have told us to name it. Then I say finish. So it has been created. Then after doing this, I save and then close. Then I go create another one from design, and then I go here, I click student, then I want all of them. Then I go to next. Don't want to make any modifications apart from here. I want to change it to student input form. So you can see how ICT is easy. And then we go to finish. Remember, this is ICT 3, so it is easy just like that. Then you earn your form marks because I created the forms to help you input the data. Then I go to save, never forget to save, and then you close. So once that is done, the next form marks they are telling me to fetch here, pollute the data tables with the above data, and then lastly they're telling me to create a relationship. What I'll just have to do, I'll just go to my form, because now this is where I'm going to be inputting data. By the way, when you're in the exam, do not go here like maybe course table and you start putting data from here. Some of you may put the data from there when you don't know what you're doing. When they've told you to create using forms, don't create data from there. It's like you're creating data on the surface, and we want you to create it from the forms. Now the forms, first of all, they create this way of protecting your data, so that when somebody finds you typing data like from this area, you're going to see that all the information is going to be exposed, and someone can even just take a peek and steal the organizational data. So once you create a form, you can see after creating something here, you can just go to the next person. So when you go to the next person, the other person is hidden. So even if it finds you on this page, you will only be like, maybe you will only take data for the person you are on, but not the entire data for the organization. So this one is somehow secure. So when I'm to go back and I start with my first person, I was having a course ID of CS11. Then I go to name. Now what some of you do, you put everything on this one form, but that's wrong. You have to press next and you go to the next person. Networking was the next thing. And then we are having tuition, which is in 45000. And we are having tutor was Joan. So once that is done, that is the first person, as you can see here. This is what I have done here. Now to record this second one, which is CS12, I'll just go here and I say next down here. Then it gives me 2 of 2. Then I start putting. I go to CS12. That's done. Course name, web designing. Web design. Then I go to tuition, which is 3000. Then after that, I go to Nike. It's called Nick. They put there Nike. So it is that, like that. So when I look here, you can see Nike is there. So I'm having I'm having this and this. Now you can see how my shilling is working. I had put when I had gone to format and I put shillings on this, and this is how it will appear here. So after doing that, I can save. For example, if I told I finish all these things, I say save and then I close. So once that is done, if I want to see how my thing looks like, you can see how nice it looks like. So this is how it looks like. If you want this, there was a student who wanted to see this organization and also wanted to see like it's at the extreme end of this tuition. So you can just go on this and then you go to left align, and it is appearing on the other side, just to make it more beautiful. So once that is done, let me close this. I've seen how it looks like. See now it looks like. So once that is done, they're also saying now I want to create the student input form. So I go to create form design. Sorry. I want now to create the student input form. I go to create form wizard. I take here, this is it. Take all of them. Then I go to next. Yes. Then I'm going to what title? They have told me to call it student input form. Student input form, and then I say finish, and it brings that. Once you forget to save, you can still come here on what you have saved. When it's not correct, you right click, then you go to rename, and it will cater for you. So I can call this mobs 1. So now I can call this Mike, and I can. So this one was having date of birth. I'm done with that. Then I go to gender. Now with gender, this is what I told you, that this is how you input data. Just click on the drop down here, and then this one Mike was a male. Then you go to campus, which is Arua. Once that is done, course ID CS11. Now we can continue with the rest. Just for practice. But with that, I don't want to bore you inputting everything. And then I save. Once I save, and I've put all information, so just a glimpse. So now our work looks like. You could see how things are now looking nice. So they'll be having the other still moves 5 once you put all. Then after that, let's go back to our score sheet and we see. After putting everything, put data every day above data, then everything will be okay, and I will get my 4 marks. Then the last one, create a relationship between the two tables and enforce inference integrity. So with this, I'm going to just go back and I say create. Now To create a relationship, I'll go to so I don't go to create, I go to database tools. Database tools is where I'm going to find relationship. Then I say okay. Then I choose the tables which I want to, merge up, or the relationship I want to create. I want to create for the course. So I say add. Then I go to this one also, student. I say add. Then I close. So I'm going to link them together. So once you want to do this, you'll just left click, then you hold, then you drag. Once you see this, that means you're dragging. Then you drag to the course ID, the primary key. Now you make sure that this pointer is pointing the course ID. Don't do this. Make sure this pointer is on this. If I thought there was another item down here, it will mean that you're placing the item down on that thing. So make sure the pointer is on it, then you release. Once you release, this is going to show you course ID. Then here they told us to enforce using referential integrity. So I'm going to click on it. As I click on it, I say create, and it provides this. You can see it is saying it's providing something which is one-to-many relationship. So once that is done, I save and then I close. So I have been able to create my relationship. My data types are looking okay, and I'll earn all the marks. So that will be the end of today's lesson. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to get more other lessons on MS Access. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.